now we're going to start the next project on the Scout, which is the exhaust system. Now, I don't feel that this is a very exciting thing to be doing on a vehicle, doing the exhaust, but I'll just kind of give you a rundown of what I'm planning on doing. So as you can see, I've got all stainless steel components. Now it's not, this piece is polished. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a straight pipe that was more of the raw stainless steel, which is the look that I really wanted to stay with the Scout. I don't want a whole polished exhaust system, but unfortunately, I'm going to have this piece in there that's going to be polished. You know, a couple pieces of this one that'll be cut up strategically placed in there. But I think it's a real nice, clean system. I'm just going to go with 2 into 1 into a Y, out, muffler towards the back, up high, and then just a simple dump. Just behind the rear axle, I'm going to do a simple dump. I've got my weld-in bungs for my O2 sensors. I bought some Stainless Works. These are a weld-on hanger. So I'm just going to run with these weld-on hangers. Just 2, probably 1 before the muffler and 1 after the muffler. Maybe up a little closer to the Y assembly of the up by the engine itself. I'll probably run a hanger up there. But I just feel 2 hangers. You know, just a simple single muffler system. This is a nice clean Summit unit. Just a straight through. It's got a really nice sound to it. I've always liked them. I've used them on a couple other projects I've done. So that's what it is. I don't really think you want to see me videoing me under the vehicle cutting, fitting. What I'm going to do is as I do each piece, as I put the pieces together, the nice thing is these will actually fit inside of here. I'm going to go ahead and just tack weld them with the MIG welder. I'll just probably 2 little welds just to hold it together. I'll take just the Y assembly apart from under the vehicle. I'll go over to the welding table. I'll put a nice little tack weld with stainless steel TIG, and then I'll grind off the other welds that are just the standard rod, and then I'll TIG weld it all the way around. So real clean, simple, all stainless. I won't compromise on that. I want it to stay. I don't want to deal with looking under there and seeing a rust line where the weld is, because I use carbon steel instead of stainless steel. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm kind of compulsive about that. Let's get started. So unfortunately, the way the headers come out of the engine and how much clearance I have down there, I have to have a nice little angle to kind of pull away from the oil level sensor in the side of the oil pan. I still want to utilize that. I don't have a bender, so unfortunately I have to utilize cutting the pieces at an angle. This will actually weld into the header, or the bottom flange of the header that will unbolt. And then I had to angle it, and as you can see, it gives me a nice little radius to clear that. What I also like to do is I also like to put a little mark to kind of line up exactly how I want these 2 pieces to fit together. And then I like to make sure that I grind it down and create as tight of a fit as I possibly can get. Just a nice, clean, tight fit. I like to bevel the outside edge a little bit, especially if I'm TIG welding this. I really want to have a nice bevel on the outside of the edge. So in end, this is what it'll look like going into the header, and then the next pipe will come down and it'll go around the bell housing itself, and it'll go into the Y on the driver's side of the vehicle. And we're done. I know, through the magic of time, this is what you get 8 hours later. So I think it turned out really well. Simple little design. This is all I really wanted. I'm going to put my O2 bungs there and there, so they're in the proper location, 6 inches away from the collector. I'm going to TIG weld all of this. So there's going to be a lot of TIG welding. A lot of TIG welding. right, we're done. Is it day? Night? Night. Like way late night. So I've got about 12 hours into doing this. Once I went to put it back in, when I first started welding this section back together that I redesigned, I relayed it out. You can see all these nice little TIG welds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, multiple TIG welds. Again, I don't have a bender, so I had to improvise and I had to create the radius that I needed the second time around to get the clearance that I needed. So now I have the clearance. Okay, like I said, so we got just a simple 2-pipe. I had to modify, as I was saying before, I had to redo this whole down tube to give myself a ton of clearance for the drive shaft, so front drive shaft. So now we got all that clearance that we needed. So we got 2 into 1. Okay, so I got the whole system out, and let's take a look at what the problem was that I've been having for the last 4 months of driving this thing. And I've had a slight exhaust leak that's been driving me absolutely nuts. So what I ended up doing is I pulled, okay, so these are my stainless steel headers that are made in China. I paid $65 for them with the head gaskets and cheap bolts and the flat flange, the triangle flange style with the gaskets, and I got the gaskets as well for 65 bucks. Stainless steel headers should not cost $65. But it was kind of one of those purchases where it's like, no, you know what? 65 bucks, I'm gonna go ahead and get them. So I got them. So I installed them, and here's the Y pipe I built, and I had the flat flanges on them, and right from the get-go, I could hear the ticking, the exhaust ticking. And it just drives me, and it was very light. I would ask people, you know, hey, how's the exhaust sound? Oh, it sounds great. So it was one of those things where it was more of an annoyance than anything. With me, most people really couldn't notice it, but I did. So I ended up actually popping them off, and I went out and bought V-bands, and I went out and bought, it's a 3-ply aluminum gasket made by Percy's, and you know, they crushed really well, and they got pretty good reviews, so that's what I ended up doing. So again, it stopped for a minute and then it started up again. So I just blew the system apart, and I have 2 plans. The first plan consists of a different gasket made by another company. It's another good one. They're 0.125 thick. So they're a thicker gasket, which should crush down really well, because as I started taking these system apart, I'll show you what I found. First, we'll start with these Summit Racing band clamps that I got from Summit. And you can kind of see it down inside there. Not a whole lot, but you can see some black soot kind of coming out the back. Probably nothing, no sounds whatsoever. This would have made really no difference. This is more my compulsive side, saying, you know, I don't like to see that. I don't want to see that. I really don't like these bands anyway. These are more, I really consider these more for, you know, just a retrofit, just trying to put a system together that's already together and it just needs some components or maybe a muffler or something. You don't really want to crawl under the car and blow it all apart and weld it and all that kind of crap. This works really well for that, in my opinion. That's what I typically would use those for. So I'm not real happy with those. So that was the first thing I noticed as I was pulling the muffler off and pulled the other mid pipe off. So then I pulled the Y pipe off, and I don't know if you can notice it, but we got blow by. Got blow by there, blowing out this way, and we got blow by there, blowing out this way, and that's a V-band. Now, granted, we're talking about a pipe that's already in the vehicle. I just cut off the actual upper end, just above the actual O2 sensor, and I TIG welded those in. So when I did put it together, I actually had to pull it apart a little bit, and then when I put it together, it didn't want to sit flush at all. It didn't just drop in. As you can see, you know, you got them both going in different directions. There's a lot of issues with that, with this setup. So that's number one, or that's number two that I found. That's a big one, obviously. That one is going to cause an exhaust leak. And you can see it a little bit better on the actual back of the header itself. You can see where the blow-by was at. So there's still leaking there. So then when I pulled the headers off, you can see on this one, we got blow-by. On that one, we got a little bit of blow-by on this one, not a lot. On the other one, for the other side, same thing. End to end, we've got blow-by. So I went and got a straight edge. I said, all right, let's see how level we are going across the surface. And I don't think it's supposed to do that. Yeah. $65 headers. This is what you get. You know what, again, maybe you're a better man or a better woman than me, and you can catch this stuff, or you have caught this stuff in the past, or done the same exact thing that I just did. This is my first experience with doing this, buying the cheap headers and thinking they're going to work, or hoping they're going to work. This was my hope that fell to the wayside. So my other option, like I said, my first option is to buy the thicker head gasket, to use these headers, put the thicker gasket in there, put them in, and cross your fingers and hope they work. Which would also include me taking the Y pipe, probably where I did this weld right here, cutting this weld off on both sides, and then clamping the band clamp, clamping the upper on, and then going ahead and matching up the lower, and just go ahead and using the MIG welder and just tack it in, and then pull it all apart, take it to the bench, and TIG weld it, re-TIG weld it, to make sure that these are sitting nice and flush and flat and smooth. So modification there with a new head gasket to use these manifolds. Or I buy the nice manifolds, which already have a V-band on them, and they come with a little extension pipe, which comes out about yay far, 2.5, which is exactly what the system is, for 180 bucks. And they're made by a company called Speed Tech. I believe it's Speed Tech. Speed Tech or Speedline? Maybe it's Speedline. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. And just going that route. Now, I put in, let me show you. So this is my mid pipe. Goes like this under the vehicle. Y hooks into it, pop, and then hooks into the muffler. So I yesterday ordered, yesterday I went ahead and put my catalytic converter in. TIG welded that all in. And yesterday I ordered some more stainless steel V-bands. I'm gonna put a V-band here, and I'm gonna put a V-band on the other end for the muffler. A V-band where this goes into here. Just sliding this in here, like I said, this is where it was leaking. So I did that yesterday. So I've got 2 V-bands coming, another one of these heat shields like this one that I'm gonna put on top here. The floor is probably about 1.5 inches away from the top of this catalytic converter. I don't like that because my floors are a really nice bed liner, you know, and I don't want to take any chances for something that cost me 20 bucks. So I ordered that yesterday as well. So we got head gaskets coming in, 2 V-bands, and that coming in. Well, the head gaskets are going to be here today, but the V-bands and that are coming out of Georgia, so I'm not going to see those until Tuesday. So I might as well just go ahead and order my new set of headers, because the whole system's pulled out of the Scout, and we'll just deal with it then. That's all I can do.
What you saw me TIG welding, fuck you, motherfucker.
All right, guys, there you go. Simple system, 2 into 1. Nice little stainless.
Flow through my fucker.